fucking throttle you, KEIICHI. I'm gonna throttle you. I'm going to throw you around. I'm gonna fucking swing you around like a sock filled with rocks. Oh hello, it's me again, the jam of content warning. This episode is a real fucking doozy. So feel free to look on screen at the content warning if you're just wanting to double check you're good to go ahead for this one. Have a nice time. Takano-san brought an end to her storytelling and waits for a moment as if to tantalise us. Suddenly, Shion looked around as if something had caught her eye. Her head bobbed to and fro, like she was making sure nothing had changed. What's wrong, Shion? I'm sorry. Please don't worry about it. What's going on? Shion pretended as though nothing had happened. She looked around as if something had caught her eye. Her head bobbed to and fro, like she was making sure nothing had changed. Takano-san also made sure nothing had happened, then cleared her throat and broached the next subject. I explained that half the villages have demon blood. That blood, they actually say it's the blood of the kind of demon that eats people. Man-eating demons? That escalated quickly. Are you proposing, perchance, that if they have the blood of the man-eating demons in them, they still want to eat people? And that there's going to be some kind of a cannibalism cult in this village? That blood still runs through the village's veins. They say that sometimes the blood awakens from its slumber. I thought the fairy tale had a happy ending, with the humans and demons living in peace, but it began to suddenly change into a brutal, bloody story. Well, they eat people. They say that every decade or so, they can't help but want to feast on human flesh. The villagers can't eat other villagers. So when this happens, it's said that they descended on the human villages and conducted onikakushi. Chapter 1 was called onikakushi. Interesting. What's an onikakushi? Broadly speaking, it's when a demon kidnaps someone. When a person is demoned away. Oh, I remember that now, yeah. That was discussed a bit in the last chapter too. Are you proposing that the people who went missing were fucking eaten? What the hell was that fish smell from earlier? I hate this, man. God damn it. They say that the villagers of Onikafuchi would overwhelm unfortunate human villages in order to kidnap sacrifices. Takano-san's explanation was plain and simple, but when I imagined what it must have been like, it was terrifying. They lose their human reason. The villagers turn into real demons en masse. They attack the villages they loathe in the dirty world of the masses below, and then they kill and eat their sacrifices. So they're no different from demons after all. What did Oyashiro-sama do? Wasn't he supposed to be staying in the village and watching over them? Oyashiro-sama knew about it, of course. Onikakushi isn't indiscriminate. The villagers apparently never kidnapped anyone other than sacrifices decided upon by their god. And we're just sneaking into the fucking holy warehouse? Oh, fuck me. Fucking villagers are gonna be like, finally some good fucking food while serving up some fucking KEIICHI a la carte. In the text, it's usually 1 or 2 people. 1 or 2 people. 1 or 2 people. A village inhabited by those both human and inhuman. It was like the heartwarming episode's colours had inverted like negative film. That does happen sometimes in this game. Revealing the painful and ugly truth. So, on the nights when they stole away villages, They would feast on their kidnapped sacrifices, which is why the nights came to be known as Watanagashi. We've been told a different story about that though, haven't we? About how that name came to be? Watanagashi. Tonight's festival was Watanagashi. I just couldn't reconcile the fun festival with the horrible tale Takano-san was telling me. That wasn't octopus in the takoyaki. It was people. It's gonna be fucking Tome takoyaki at this rate. I just couldn't reconcile. Yeah. Watanagashi, well, wasn't it about giving thanks to the futons we use over the winter or something? Kei-chan. Wata has another meaning, you know. It means entrails. Shion, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Entrails? Oh. Yeah, I guess that's true. Like fish guts. Yeah, the ones we've been smelling. Wait, what? Like a jigsaw puzzle, the fun times I had today and Takano-san's grotesque tale clicked together in my mind. Watanagashi, so gut spilling. I didn't think saying that could ever feel so nauseating. Oh, not this fucking... Oh, no. Yes. It's as you imagine, my Barakun. Right now, the Watanagashi Festival might just be a somewhat early summer festival occurring every June, but it used to be different. It used to be a ghastly, cannibalistic feast held on the night the villagers had collected their unfortunate dinner. That can't be true. I had no real reason to say that, but I couldn't help it. My Barakun, you said that the Watanagashi is a ritual about purifying futons, right? What do you think the futons, filled with cotton, with water, represent? I was told it represented the illnesses that the futons had absorbed over the course of a year. I was told that it was a health thing, like a health and well-being thing. Not this. This is completely different. And I refuse to believe that both can be true. I feel like both of those options, both of those fucking takeaways are mutually exclusive. Futons are futons. They're beds. They're things for sleeping in. What else could they possibly represent? I was rattling on, desperately attempting to deny the horrible festival that Takano-san was describing. Deep down, however, I found myself understanding all too well what she meant. Fear hiccups are back. Okay. Fuck me. Futons, stuffed with cotton. If the cotton represented entrails in both pronunciation and meaning, then entrail-filled futons would have to be humans. This is like the fucking English literature tests that I had to do when I was taking English in like high school and college, where it's like, hey, what's the meaning? What's the takeaway of, you know, why did the writer decide to make the curtains blue? But it's one of those, it's got two very, very different potential meanings to it. I feel like the first one has a bit more thought to it. Like, I like the meaning behind the idea that people rest up when they're unwell in the futons. And then those futons are, like, taken through, like, a cleansing process. As if to say, this is what the futons did for us over the year. Let us do this to hope for a healthy year again. The whole, the cotton is blood and guts, and the futons are humans. I don't know, it just feels pretty, if you'll pardon the pun, it feels like a bad faith interpretation. Like, fuck, if the fucking festival consisted of cutting cheese toasties in half, would Takano be here like, oh, you cut the cheese toasty in half, but actually it's about cutting people in half. I don't know about this, but like, we'll stick with it. Why don't you think back to the offertory dance Rika-chan performed? Do you know what she was doing up there? No, I don't. I didn't even watch the whole thing anyway. Shush! Kei-chan, you're getting too worked up. Shion grabbed one of my ears, reminding me that this wasn't somewhere I should raise my voice. Even so, I still can't suppress this agitation I feel. Rika-chan was carrying a festival hoe. You've probably realised it already, but that's not a hoe for ploughing fields. It's a tool for dissecting human bodies. I don't... You know what? I'm going to make a statement here and now. It's possible that this statement will be wrong. I will be tricked for my naivete. But I have to go with my instinct. I think this is wrong. I think this is all wrong. It doesn't feel right. It feels... Look, I get it. If this were true, then obviously the interpretation that I'm given by the locals, obviously they're going to give me that interpretation as opposed to this one, but I don't know. This just feels so... It feels like you're looking for the worst possible interpretation. I don't believe it. I think this is wrong. Until I see some actual evidence of this, I don't believe this. Watch, I'm gonna fucking be like, I don't believe a fucking word of this until I see some evidence. I'm gonna walk out of the warehouse door, back out into the open. I'm gonna see fucking Renner gnawing on Tomotake's disembodied corpse. I didn't see the dance all the way through, so I don't know what kind of performance Rika-chan was putting on after I left. Fuck, even fucking Shion's looking a bit nervous. When I told this to Takano-san, she kindly explained Rika-chan's dance to me. To summarise what she said, after what I'd seen, Rika-chan would pierce the futons with that hoe, cut them open, and pull out the cotton inside. She'd cut the cotton out, one bit at a time, and set it afloat. That's the kind of ritual it was. I mean, that is true, we know that. Well, actually, though, that's not entirely true. Everyone did it. Cotton would be given to all the villagers. So unless that gets cleared up. Broadly speaking, it was quite the bombastic ceremony, where they'd rip out the guts and throw them into a basin. And then the ritual was over. It's thought that afterwards the villagers, each with a different role, dismantled the flesh piece by piece and feasted upon it. At Takano-san's strangely happy giggle, I felt, for some reason, violent displeasure. Rika-chan. Every day, during our lunch break, she'd take a rice-pounding mallet into the schoolyard, and she'd work so hard, sweating bullets, to practice for the offertory dance she had done today. All that effort, all that work. Takano-san disgraced it. Even though she worked so hard to practice for today. Takano-san, I think you should choose your words more carefully. Kei-chan's pretty naive, so please don't tease him so much. A moment before I opened my mouth to express how angry I was, Shion stopped me. Shion must have been fully aware of how that story made me feel. Kind of thank you, Shion. I'm sorry. I thought you'd like a story with that sort of shock value since you're a boy. Takano-san spoke without a hint of malice as she smiled gracefully. After hearing all that, did you figure out what kind of stuff is in this storehouse, Kei-chan? Wait, you mean all these sharp implements are for fucking cutting and dismembering and corpses and stuff. Look, I'll give this theory one thing. It certainly is genuinely suspicious to have an incredibly protected and locked away ancient mystical warehouse with a grand statue of a god and a bunch of sharp, rusty tools in it. I'll give you that. But I don't know. See, look. Shion pointed out one of the walls vaguely illuminated by the lantern's light. There was... Mere moments ago, they hadn't held my interest. They were just boring-looking tools lined up on the shelves. Ugh. All those uninteresting tools that I didn't understand how to use. They all suddenly took on a new meaning, and I couldn't help but let out a groan. At first, they had looked like carpentry tools, like chisels or planes. However, when I thought back, I'd seen pictures of these sorts of tools before. Yeah, they came up in a Japanese history textbook. Yes. On the page introducing the KEIICHI, or the new text on anatomy. These sorts of things, they're printed realistically in the literature of Germany, capital of the medical world. These aren't carpentry tools. These strangely shaped tools, they're for dissection. Everyone knows that in the Edo period, one minute.
Edo period. Edo period.
Edo. Everyone knows that in the Edo period, they would dissect the corpses of those who had been put to death in order to gain knowledge about Western medical techniques. I didn't know that. Illustrations of the dissection tools they used at the time came up in textbook supplements. The things hung up on this wall all looked exactly the same as those. If you want a scarier way of looking at it, think of them as cooking utensils. Takano-san, holding the lantern, the only light source in the room, led us along the wall. She had the only light, so I had to walk after her whether I liked it or not. Look. Takano-san illuminated a coiled chain, which left a bigger impression than the other things we saw. The chain in itself was nothing unusual, but further along it were metal fetters that were like hinges, clearly meant for binding people. Hey, Kei-chan. Is that? Shion tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to a restraining table that was clearly shaped like a person. Okay, like, I'm gonna be honest, I can't explain that one. Like, you know what? The tools I can be in denial about, I'm like, oh, they're just, multi-purpose tools, but I don't really know how I can fucking, smooth over the presence of a restraining table shaped like a person near some binding chains. My spine froze. My blood felt like it was turning into sherbet as it crawled up my back. And I love the descriptions of how, like, the shock affects your body in these games. They're always very good. On each of the joints there were things like chains and iron balls attached. It was like the table was searching for its next sacrifice, ready to spread their arms wide and close them in. It's probably a chopping block. I think he'd strap the sacrifice down to prep them for eating. The word chopping block sent a jolt through my body. When I looked more closely, there were many dark slices carved into it, as though from a knife or a saw. Is there blood? They were the most clear-cut signs of usage you could ask for. Apart from blood. It proved these tools weren't just for show. They were used for their original purpose. We haven't seen any dried old blood. If someone was strapped tightly onto this table, they probably wouldn't be able to move even a muscle. Their guts would be defenseless. You take one of those eerie cooking knives lined up over there, stab them with it, and then you'd slice open their belly and dissect them. I'd heard the stories, but it's incredible. Even Shion is losing her cool now. Holy crap. Before coming in here, Shion had mentioned she had a good guess of what was inside, but it seemed to have exceeded her imagination. There's still more. How about it? More fascinating than a wax museum, isn't it? Takano-san had this happy expression, like she was visiting a toy store for the first time. I don't get it. This Mio Takano person has nerves of steel. Are these bizarre, grotesque objects that satisfying to her? I, for one, was not enjoying myself. I'll be frank, this was all too weird for me. Still, there was something even more horrifying in all this. That would be none other than Takano-san herself. Takano-san, holding the lantern, giving off such a thin beam of light if she suddenly turned it off. Then what would I do when the next moment everything went totally dark? That's why I was scared. Takano-san had the only light, and anyway, I was scared. At some point, Shion had started holding onto my shirt sleeve. It was a little annoying to walk like that, but it didn't shake her off. That minor sensation allowed me to feel the presence of an ally here and now. Before we had even walked halfway through the storehouse, the air I felt on my skin changed completely. These cruel tools lined up, all crammed together in this place. Some were horrible ones made to take away sacrifices' freedoms, and some were tools made to efficiently disassemble and prepare the bodies for consumption. Those were just the things I understood. There were plenty of other strange-looking objects that I couldn't even guess the purpose of. Now that I was here, I didn't have the slightest desire to hear the details about what sort of terrifying reasons they were meant to be used for. At the very least, they were all completely different from the sort of clean, simple killing function of a katana. Tools to kill people were obviously constructed in such a way that they could kill people. If that was the goal, then the person you used them on would obviously end up dead. These seem to be built with cruelty in mind. Clinical cruelty. The kinds of tools here, however, were different. The tools that were here were for cutting people, for crushing them, for boiling them and cooking them, and for grinding them. They were tools of torture. They weren't made to kill people. People dying was just an incidental result. Actually, they might not even kill them. If the sacrifices could die during such a horrifying ritual process, that would be nice, but they don't even die in the end. They remain in a state of hellish pain. Perhaps they were only being allowed to live. Only now, in this moment, did I fully realize just how terrifying and fearsome that difference was. It's certainly different from the bottomless swamp, which I've had rattling around in my brain for a little bit, because I'm like, well, okay, is it one or the other? Is it the bottomless swamp, or is it the torture room? But it sounds like actually the bottomless swamp of hell is kind of reserved for people who have broken the rules. And, you know, have made the deity angry. And that is how you quell the anger. This is something different, seemingly. It's something that happens not every year. Although one or two people do go missing for it. People, you see, Most of these wouldn't kill them if used properly. Takano-san, as if reading my mind, displayed a shocking smile. Burning at the stake, the famous method of execution for witches, will kill the person immediately. That's not true. Oh right, well I mean like when the body suffers extreme burns on the skin all over, the decomposition of the skin's chemical makeup produces poison-like symptoms and causes an immense shock to the victim. Though I suppose it's still very cruel compared to the guillotine, you have to wait far longer for that to happen. She described such horrors in a strangely medical way. Yeah, I don't... Your bedside fucking manner is not the best, nurse. I'm sorry. Shion immediately answered the question I had. Takano-san is a nurse. There's a saying that nothing can scare a doctor. I guess it's true. Oh, and also, there was a method of execution in ancient Rome where they would grill the person. Just like a barbecue. They would cover the person in wire netting and slowly cook them over a charcoal fire. To think the memories of when I went to day camp with my family would come rushing back now of all times so vividly. It's what it was like. Apparently, they wouldn't die too easily for some reason. According to one source, even if they roasted one side of a person to a crisp for an entire night, they would still be conscious and able to speak fluently. That's insane. You'd grill someone the whole day and they'd still be conscious. It's said that ancient Rome, famous for their executions, thought of plenty of ways to execute someone while having the victim stay alive as long as possible. Among them, there was one method where they would open the guts, pull out the intestines like sausages, pull them up on a winch, and put them on display publicly. Shion was behind me, clinging to me. Not just because she was scared. She was protecting her stomach. You would think someone with their intestines pulled out would die instantly, right? Actually, as long as you do it tenderly and thoroughly, it's apparently possible to pull them all out while the person is still conscious. I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. It was like my organs were coiling up just from Takano-san's stare. This goes a little bit beyond, like, I like listening to true horror podcasts and reading about creepy executions and, urban legends. This is fucked. Though pulling them out with a winch was a rather exaggerated method. In a more barbaric way, they might slice open the gut, then cut the intestines out and throw them everywhere. It's quite imaginable that they did dreadful things like that too, isn't it? However, those being put to death are conscious. It must be far more terrifying than painful. She spoke with pleasure, as if she had come here on a sightseeing trip. You're a fucking entire parade of red flags, okay? I want to go hang out with someone more well-adjusted like Renna. I heard Shion gulping multiple times near my ears. Yeah, you're about to make her throw up, man. Can we cool the jets here? Perhaps Hinamizawa, or rather, Onigafuchi village did something like that for the Watanagashi festival. Listen, if you try hard, you hear it. I wanted nothing more than to not hear anything at all. So why? Why only at times like these do I begin to hear things I shouldn't be able to? Uh-oh. Takano-san, having realised she'd scared Shion and I enough at this point, smiled soothingly. Then, she turned on her heel, raised the lantern, and began to walk again. If Takano-san left us here, we'd get even further away from the light. Shion and I, no matter how scared we were forced to follow Takano-san along on her field trip through the ritual storehouse. I suppose we've seen a bit of everything. See? This place is interesting, isn't it? She says, raising the lantern high in the centre of the storehouse. The dim lighting didn't change, but for some reason it felt like I was able to see all of those horrible tools at once. Hey, Chan. Look up. Shion stammered while grabbing the nape of my neck. I couldn't tell because it was so dark, but there were a lot more tools hanging from the ceiling as well. They all looked like they were made of iron bars, but then I figured it out. Cages. For cages, they were very small. Cramped cages, just for one, like a casket. If you got locked up in there, no, you wouldn't get locked up inside it. It was another tool meant for restraining people, where the iron bars would squeeze you tightly. So many big and large things of all shapes were hanging down. Takano-san's mention of execution by grilling crosses my mind. We weren't just surrounded on all sides by these terrifying instruments. Things crowding the ceiling were even hanging over our heads. There are many of these sorts of bird cages among European torture devices. I'm surprised to see them in Japan as well. Kei-chan, is there something in there? A person? A mummy? Where? Shion desperately pointed to one of the many human-sized bird cages hanging from the ceiling, but I couldn't tell which one she meant. Being that dark, there wasn't any way you could tell if something was in there in the first place. I don't see anything. You sure you're not seeing things? Shion didn't seem convinced, but without a means to confirm for ourselves, we couldn't do much but wonder. My Barakun, after seeing this, you come to believe in all of it? The countless terrible rituals passed down in Hinamizawa? My question that I have to ask is, what is the point in telling us about this? I guess like, oh, you know, be warned, be aware, protect yourself, but you can't scare the shit out of like a random like teenager and be like, okay, now they know the risks and they will act completely normally. It's got nothing to do with believing in them. Now that I've been shown the real thing like this, there's no possible way to deny it. Even the nations of Europe, with all their beautiful landscapes and legends, were like a maelstrom during the terrible witch hunts in the Dark Ages. It's well known that the era gave birth to countless gruesome forms of torture and execution. Japan was the same way. Didn't it have its own era of hellscape-like torturous feasts because of religious suppression and things of that nature? Hinamizawa itself had such a period. It had that much history behind it. Even in Europe, land of the witch hunts, it was all far in the past, no more than a series of historical events, and in this age, nothing that abnormal would ever happen. That must apply to Hinamizawa as well. Just as Europe had its Dark Age, Hinamizawa had one too. That's how this should be taken. Even if these things all really happened in Hinamizawa, they're all long past. They don't have anything to do with the people living in Hinamizawa right now. My Barakun, you really do like this village. It didn't sound like she was making fun of me. Takano-san gave me a light smile. Takano-san, you're researching whether those customs survived into the present. You are, right? Shion suggested something that made my heart leap into my throat. Are you telling me that all these horrible things are still going on even today? What I'm about to tell you is a secret, alright? I told you, Shion-chan, because you're an understanding person. But the other villagers don't want to hear it. If things go awry, I could be ganged up on and punished. Shion flashed a devilish smile. as in reveling in the immortality of it. My Barakun, you keep it a secret too, okay? If this gets out, I could suffer Oyashiro-sama's curse or be made into a sacrifice. If it's the curse, then I wonder what kind of death it'll be this year. If it's the sacrifice, then will I be thrown into the Onigafuchi swamp while still alive? It is tonight, you know. The night of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Takano-san said, bringing her face right up close to ours. As if to say that she had the choice, she'd rather suffer the curse. That's what she seemed to be implying. Takano-san took a fairly worn notebook out of her paper bag and began to flip through its pages. There were all sorts of references and newspaper clippings attached to them, and it had all manner of things written inside. The letters were very small and bunched together, so I couldn't tell at a glance what it was about. What I'd really like to do is search through the National Library for newspapers from the era, but here it is. Photocopy of a page from some book was slid into the notebook, and it too was written in small, tight lettering. Like the other pages, I couldn't tell what it was about just by glancing at it. This is a story that actually happened. It was around the end of the Meiji era. They discovered an unknown, mangled corpse, the victim of a murder in Onigafuchi village. An old newspaper clipping attached to the page spoke of something that was no mere rumour or fairy tale. We don't have most police documents from the time anymore, so it's all based on oral traditions and memories. See? It's not very clear. But it looks like a cutout of a newspaper from the Meiji era. Fucking hell's bells, this is grim as fuck. Never before has there been a corpse treated with such cruelty and inhumanity. Could it be the work of a demon? Being a copy of a copy, it was very hard to make out, but it was more than enough to make me feel strangely tense. Near the end of the Meiji era, in old Onigafuchi village, a mangled corpse was discovered. The identity of the corpse was unknown. It wasn't even in a state where it could be identified in the first place. It was missing a head, and each limb was separated from the body. Sound familiar? Skin had been peeled off the entire body, and there were markings that implied terrible torture in every place imaginable. Not only that, but the belly had been cut open by a sharp knife with the entrails completely dragged out. The police immediately began an investigation, but since they couldn't even determine the identity of the victim, much less the criminal, finding answers was extremely difficult. Do you understand what it must have been like? I couldn't imagine such a strange sight, even if I tried. This was the first time I was ever thankful for my lack of imagination. The victim was skinned while still alive, underwent all kinds of torture, and was killed brutally. The author here also thinks that, even after death, the remains were divided and dissected even further. The epitome of inhumanity. I am of the opinion that the entire process was performed while the person was still alive, though. What do you think, my Barakun? She spoke in a way that intended to make me imagine even more vicious things. I think that you just like to assume the worst case scenario in these things out of a sense of, like, morbid hope. And I don't think there's any objective proof of that. That person was alive for the whole of that. As my brain was already far over capacity, however, there was no way I could imagine anything more brutal. Then, when I broke my gaze from Takano-san's, those strangely shaped weird tools were all around us. I wonder if you could faithfully reproduce the mutilated corpse discovered at the end of the Meiji era with the tools found in this place. I want to deny it. I don't want to admit that something so terrible could have happened at all. Even so, they were so strange, so terrifying, these tools, and as if they had seen through my attempts to escape from them. They did nothing but ridicule me silently. So, that creepy incident. What was it in the end? The author says that, regarding Onigafuchi village's dreadful customs, they have survived into recent post-Meiji days, and that perhaps they have lasted until around the beginning of the Showa period. This corpse, at a glance, appears to have been brutally killed after a period of torture. In actuality, however, it was the pitiful, sacrificial remains of the man-eater's terrifying feast. The corpse was just leftovers. It was so fantastic, so strange that it didn't feel real. Was this an extension of the legends too? It happened in the Meiji era though, which is just too recent to be called a legend. Also, there's a newspaper clipping right here suggesting it. And we're before the age of the fucking AI fake right now. This is the early 1980s. Although, like, you know, anyone with a fucking word processor and a dream could create this newspaper clipping, couldn't they? You know? Copy it a couple times to make it seem old. I can deny. I can deny. I am a fucking Egyptian river right now, okay? Okay, but even if it really happened, it was a long time ago, right? This is where she's like, I lied, this is an article from about 10 years ago, buddy. I mean, the Meiji era ended 100 years ago. That's all. Only 100 years ago. Besides, kept happening even after the beginning of the Showa period. Like with the uproar around the post-war canned flesh incident. Oh, I apologise. That story was taboo, wasn't it? Canned flesh incident? You would love fucking creepypastas. We'd be all over that shit. Takano-san immediately stopped talking as if worried about Shion. Shion briefly looked somewhat angry, but that expression soon disappeared. What? Huh? Takano-san, what did you just say? Canned flesh? Just then, there was a huge creaking noise. Everyone whipped around to look. It was Tomitake-san who had opened the door slightly. Oh hey, you're still alive. Did I startle you? Oh, Chiro-san, could you not resist coming inside? This is a splendid treasure trove of torture devices. I'll pass on that. I'm bad with this sort of thing by nature. Takano-san had to... Takano-san held her stomach and had to muffle her laughter as if she wanted to make a comment about his masculinity. In any case, the dance and ceremony are over, and everyone's going down to the stream. The festival will be over within minutes. Oh, that's no good. My Barakun is such a good listener that I just couldn't help telling stories. I'd really rather you not mention me in a place like this. We need to go down to the stream before it gets noticed that we have gone missing. Please, 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 please. Jiro-san, could you wait out front? I want to take a few pictures. There are actually a lot of tools I'd like to bring home, but obviously we can't do that. Takano-san took a camera out of her paper bag and began to snap photographs. She looked like she was having fun, like she was on a scavenger hunt. Keiichi-kun, are you leaving too? I've seen enough. Shion, you're good too, right? Let's get out of here. Want some fresh air. I agree. Let's leave. I did feel a bit of hesitation leaving Takano-san by herself in this darkness. When I thought about it though, I realised that whatever kinds of evil spirits and ghosts lurked in the darkness, none of them could hold a candle to how scary she was. Even if a phantasm were to appear, she would be overjoyed and flash her camera at it. She's so dead. It seemed like Shion shared my somewhat rude mental images. We exchanged glances and smiled painfully. We left Takano-san there, bathed in her strobe of camera flashes, and decided to go leave the ritual storehouse. Oh, what nice music! Yay, yippee, yay! Everyone at the festival seemed to have gone to the stream, so their voices were very distant. The voices of the bugs, on the other hand, were clear, lending an empty feeling of isolation to the place. How was it? Interesting? Tomitake-san gave us a somewhat mischievous grin. He should have been able to tell by looking at how pale our faces were. I should have kept watch outside with you, Tomitake-san. Tomitake-san laughed so delightfully that it wiped away our dark feelings. How did you fare, Shion-chan? Were you scared? I was prepared for it, so I wasn't too afraid, but seeing the real thing was powerful. Shion spoke like she wasn't scared at all. She really had been quite afraid, but seeing as how I was in a way worse state than her, I didn't have much room to talk. As Tomitake-san grinned candidly, my mind, exhausted and locked up by the nervousness, began to calm itself. Was Takano-san an adult about this little expedition? You know how she seems like a child sometimes? I was worried she'd be way too excited. Both Shion and I laughed, and left that as our answer. Hopefully she was only looking at things. I'm worried she'll sneak something out of there or mess with a ritual implement too much and break it or something. Right, that's quite possible. At the very least, in the moment, she didn't touch anything while we were in there. She is alone in there right now. She might pilfer something small and easily concealed, hiding it in her pocket. Yeah, I can see that. Shion said what I was thinking. You're sure she didn't break anything? I could clearly hear some noises like someone jumping up and down. I was getting pretty nervous. I'm sorry. I ran out of film. Jiro-san, if you have any more, could I use some? Takano-san suddenly appeared while we were talking about her, taking everyone by surprise. Tomitake-san smoothly grinned and responded as if nothing had happened. He's pretty mature. I'm all out of spare film. Sorry about that. Jeez. You won't win any Pulitzer Prizes by not stocking enough film for any occasion, you know. You're the one who ran out. I suppose that's it then. Tomitake-san scratched his head apologetically. Without film, we're done here. Takano-san seemed to have given up on that because of that too. We checked carefully to make sure we hadn't left anything inside, and closed the door and turned to the heavy padlock we'd left beside it. Takano-san, you didn't sneak anything out, right? How rude. I'm trying not to be that childish. Click-clack. Tomitake set the padlock back to the way it was before. From a cursory glance, it didn't look like thieves had snuck in at all. Okay, let's get over to the stream ourselves. If we don't at least set some cotton afloat, there won't be any point in coming to the festival. Tomitake-san spoke brightly, urging us all on. Setting cotton afloat down the stream. I shake my head a few times, driving away my dismal thoughts as to the double meaning. Takano-san, looking a little let down, kept turning back to glance at the ritual storehouse. Let's just leave it at that, alright? You saw enough to sate your curiosity, didn't you? Oh, not at all. Everything I found only renewed my interests. All those stories and legends suddenly hold water. After today, I'm going to have to change the way I look at all of this. Wow, she's truly indomitable. Her curiosity really is something else. Still interested in all this through and through. Oh, that's a pretty picture. We descended the stone stairs and all the people crowding the streams came into view. Near the bottom of the stairs we could clearly see people receiving cotton that had been cut out in the stream. Oh my god, I'm sorry, it's been a long session. We could clearly see people receiving cotton that had been cut out for them, then wishing upon the cotton and setting it afloat down the stream. The festival was already over. Damn. I missed my chance to photograph the best part of the Watanagashi. Oh, but it's not too late. I'm gonna go and set some afloat. Perhaps you could take pictures of me. Takano-san, with an impish expression, brought her head to Tomitake-san's shoulder. Despite his age, he looked embarrassed. I felt an honest respect for Tomitake-san, man to man, for dating such a handful of a woman. Goodbye then, my Barakun, Shion-chan. We're going down to the stream. Would you like to come with us? No, no. I couldn't get in your way. Please, take your time. Shion waved her hand to them with an expression just as impish as Takano-san's. Tomitake-san, on his part, seemed to want us to come. But whatever. I feel immediately less safe on account of the fact that it's always two people who disappear or are killed. As long as we're in a group of like 4 or so, especially outsiders, I feel like we're immune to being killed. But now we've both split off into pairs, which makes us both ripe for the fucking picking. Both groups. Jesus. Shion gave a big stretch and sat down on the stone steps. I'm pretty worn out. Same here. I'm exhausted too. Kei-chan, this is your first Watanagashi, isn't it? You go on, don't mind me. I'm tired, so I'd like to stay away from the crowd. Yeah, if we were to go now, we'd barely slip into the end of the cotton drifting ceremony. My sister and your other friends might be looking for you too. Go on. Oh, yeah, right. They've been by themselves ever since we got separated. I'd feel bad if they were looking for me. Then, Shion suddenly got a playful look on her face, then put her index finger to her lips as if telling me to keep this a secret. My sister is the type that gets really jealous. If she knew I was hugging you this whole time, she'd never hear the end of it. So keep tonight a secret, okay? You think I wasn't going to anyway, my guy, my friend, my buddy, my gal, my friend? Keep tonight a secret. Don't say things that are so embarrassing. Not only because of that, either. Considering what we were doing tonight, we really need to keep it secret. Oyashiro-sama's curse might happen tonight, and we four will be the prime candidates. Why exactly do you want to go off on your own then? What's going on there? The loosening threads of tension became taut again. Fucking hell. Shion, however, burst out laughing. Alright, I'm gonna go out of here because I'm gonna get out of here before I run into my sister. I really am tired, so I don't have the endurance to put up with her anyway. I can't tell if you get along with her or not. We get along. Though as she said that, Her vague expression. God, I'm tired. I've been recording for like fucking 2 hours and 15 minutes, and this is the second session I've recorded today. Her vague expression explained that there were a lot of oddities in a relationship between her twins. I'm an only child, so I don't really get it. Make sure you get along with her, okay? Right. Thank you kindly for your meddling. Okay, I'm gonna go. You should hurry up if you want to make it, Kei-chan. Nagashi really is about to end. Shion stood up and brushed the dust off her backside. After watching her do so, I returned my eyes to the final ceremony of the Watanagashi festival below me. Seriously, though. What was that sound, anyway? It was kind of unpleasant and creepy. Huh? What sound? The sound? You know, the banging noise. Oh, no, 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 no. Shion was looking around for a while as though she saw something briefly. She then was like, hey, is there something in one of those cages? And Tomitake was like, yeah, I heard weird stomping. I was worried about yous. It was really loud, wasn't it? Is that why she was clutching onto us? I was giving her a blank expression, so Shion stared hard at me. I stared hard at her, too. Sorry, Shion. Could you give me the short version? What was making noise? Wait, Kei-chan. It didn't bother you? When all's said and done, it was like we were speaking two different languages. Shion, explain it to me without jokes from the beginning, will you? What's this about a noise? Kei-chan, you quit joking around too. Really, honestly, it didn't bother you? Neither of us was giving any ground, and both of us were staring at each other at the other in disbelief. We were answering questions, with no sign of an actual conversation in sight. Baffled, I held in the urge to shout at her and ask politely one more time. I'm going to ask one more time, okay? I'll ask the questions. Shion nodded, silently. Okay, here goes. You said there was a sound. What are you talking about? The banging sound. It was like a kid was jumping up and down on floorboards somewhere far away. It really didn't bother you? There was nothing to be bothered by. When did you hear this? I never heard anything. Wait, Kei-chan, are you serious? Shion, as if she didn't understand my plain and simple answer, pressed me further, her expression serious. I had no clue what she was talking about. But if it had Shion acting like this, whatever it was, it gave me the creeps and sent a chill down my spine. It was while we were looking around the inside of the ritual storehouse with Takano-san. About the time she started her stories, I think it was. Little by little, louder and louder, off and on, she heard a banging sound like a child jumping on distant floorboards. That can't be true. Don't start trying to scare me after all that. Hey, if I were you, I'd believe it, buddy. You're in a ghost story. I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, it was so utterly silent in there that my own heartbeat was almost deafening. Hey, maybe that's linked? Please don't try to scare me either, Kei-chan. It was like someone was making noise in time with Takano-san's scary stories, and I was totally creeped out the whole time. The chill rose from my spine to the back of my head. My blood turned cold as it crawled up my body. When it reached my head, my mind froze over. You and Takano-san weren't paying attention to it at all, so I pretended not to hear it either, but... So Shion was the only one who heard it. That's interesting. Normally in these things, it's the POV character who's the only one who hears the sound, but Shion was the only one who heard it. Okay. There's quite a few people flying death flags right now, and I don't know what to make of it. You heard it, right? It happened a bunch of times, and it was really loud. Shion's eyes were begging me to tell her I heard it. I had no doubt, however, that my own eyes suggested something entirely different. You've got to be kidding, look. In that storehouse, we were surrounded by brutal ritual tools that looked like they were from another planet, listening to terrifying old stories. The whole time, Shion had been hearing a sound that we couldn't hear by herself. Couldn't that make Shion, who heard it, tremble, or should it make me, who didn't hear it, tremble? I didn't know the answer to that at the time. But now, Shion seemed to make that decision before I did. What are you laughing about? I really got you, Kei-chan. I was fibbing the whole time. I don't think you were, Shion. I really don't think you were. What? Shion laughed, saying how easily scared I was, then clapped me on the back. Her smile seemed somehow artificial, and actually made me feel worse. Then, after leaving me with 2 or 3 generic, diplomatic goodbye phrases, she left, almost like she was running away. All I could do was look after her, my mouth agape. At the end of the day, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Shion laughed it off and said she had been lying, but she couldn't possibly have been lying. Of course not. And now that I think back, Tomitake-san said the same thing, didn't he? I could clearly hear some noises like someone jumping up and down. I was getting pretty nervous. Tomitake-san, the most neutral party present at the time, had said he'd heard something. Then, that noise. It was real. The banging sounds. Sounds as though a child was jumping up and down on some kind of floorboards far away. Oyashiro-sama's curse, which happens every year, might happen again tonight. The most plausible victim candidates were Takano-san, Tomitake-san, Shion, and me. The bustling of the people sounded further away than I would have liked, and the sounds of the insects sounded too close for comfort. I'm near so much human warmth, and yet I can't ever go back there again. That was the ominous idea that sprouted in my mind. Then, all of a sudden, I was pounced on from behind, causing my heart to lurch. Keiichi, we found you! It was Rika-chan. When I turned round, Mion and Rina were there too. We finally found you. Now we just need to find Satoko. Everyone got split up this year. If anything's happened to Satoko, I'm going to kill everyone. I'm not actually going to do that. That was like a moment, that was a moment of emotion that I just felt and said then. But we need to find Satoko as quickly as fucking possible. She's technically a target. Considering the links, you know. Her family's dropped like flies over the past few years. Everyone got split up this year. We should make sure we have somewhere to meet up afterwards next year. You're right. It's a festival, so we should all be together. I listened to Mion's happy declaration with a little bit of guilt. Keiichi, did you root for me while I was dancing? Yeah. I saw it all. You didn't have to lie that much. You could just say you were rooting for her. You did a great job all the way through. No mistakes either. Rika's gonna be like, I dropped the hoe, you know. Yeah, that's right, Rika-chan. That didn't count as a mistake. I tensed up as I realised I'd made a mistake of my own. Mion slapped a hand on my shoulder a little roughly. A gross sweat broke out over my whole body. Did you do it too, Kei-chan? Did you get some cotton and send it down the stream? Please don't lie. Keiichi, you have a tendency to lie. I need you not to for once in your fucking life. Just please don't lie. Please don't lie. Please, please, please. I can't judge you if you do, because you don't know what happened the last time you went into a fucking lying spree, but I need you to not lie right now. You haven't yet, right? Is what I could feel her saying. Without the courage to tell any more lies, I lifelessly shook my head. Huh? You haven't, Keiichi-kun? Well, you should go now or it'll be over. It'll be over. Sorry, this is my first Watanagashi, so I don't really understand the rules and stuff. That's right. I'm sorry. We didn't lie. Oh, Keiichi. Good job, buddy. Good job, buddy. Mion took my hand, and we started walking down the stone steps. Hey, Kei-chan. What? Did you see Shion? We're, I don't know what we do here. I got no advice anymore. We can continue to not lie, but then it'll be like, what did you get up to? And then we have to think of something that we did. You have to lie about that. At this point in time, at least. I think. I want to hear something out of curiosity. Yep, that's pretty concerning. Okay. We are doomed. We are doomed. My heart skipped another beat. Maybe Mion could sense my surprise through my hand. No. Oh, well. I sort of think I saw her. You two look alike, so... It might have been you. You wouldn't have gotten that wrong. We're wearing different clothes. Huh? Oh. That's right. Mion's momentary silence was like a death grip upon me. I just can't do anything about that, Shion. Well, it's her we're talking about, so we can just leave her be. Mion's expression returned to her former usual smile, and we continued down the stone steps, her firmly pulling my hand along. No! Oh god, we're gonna not find out who fucking I might have to do a fucking third recording session at this point. Was that a fucking hatchet? Renard, is that where you got the fucking hatchet from last chapter? I'm gonna scream, man. We didn't find Satoko. Okay. Look, we just gotta get through these fucking scrapbooks. Toot fucking sweet. Watanagashi. The rite of Watanagashi is performed during a village festival every June, even now, but reading back to its origin turns up a seriously sanguine ceremony. Originally, Watanagashi would happen at certain intervals, and after receiving Oyashiro-sama's trust, they chose a sacrifice. Then the entire village would kidnap, demon away that person, and ceremonially dissect and devour them in a feast. The rules that determine the intervals are shrouded in mystery. This is because the ceremonies occurred extremely irregularly, so we don't know what the prompt is for those festivals to take place. There's a theory that it was determined based on astrological fortune telling, but it isn't too convincing. The residents of ancient Onigafuchi village firmly believed that they were half man, half demon transcendents, and that they were more valuable than humans were, and they forced people within and without to accept that. Perhaps the act of kidnapping and eating people was done to prove that they were higher up on the food chain. This is just a hypothesis, but maybe the rite of Watanagashi was a political event for the purpose of being an outlet for, or outright diverting the attention of, the villagers of the isolated Onigafuchi village. In case any of their complaints or dissatisfactions grew serious. If that was the main reason these ceremonies were held, then it's easy to explain how erratic they were. Well, so you mean to tell me that... Hold on, let me read that back again. If people stepped out of line, if they started to rock the boat, then... if a taboo took place. Okay. From the Scrapbook 5. The alleged importance of the implements. I can't find anything that gives a concrete description on what the ritual implements were like. They were, however, real, and there definitely existed a multitude of different kinds. One source states that the implements used in the Watanagashi rite alone numbered 200. The obvious question, then, is why they required such a myriad of them. The rite of Watanagashi was to kidnap people through the demoning away, dissect them, and eat them. I believe the tools were for dissection and restraining, but 200 of them is far too many. Generally, tools evolve in such a way as to reach a solution for a certain problem. Once you've reached the ultimate goal, that is, attained a certain level of efficiency, the tool's evolution normally stops there. We haven't really upgraded the hammer in a while. Any attempts to upgrade the hammer is kind of gimmicky. We don't need to upgrade the wheel. Regardless, why would they create so many different kinds? One of the cultural elements responsible for diversification over time is that of entertainment. Tools used for entertainment would evolve over time and branch out. Did they introduce the various fucking dissection tools like fucking wrestlers? And here, entering the fucking butcher's room, weighing in at it's the fucking marrow furnace! Wow! Unlike normal tools, reaching the ultimate goal would be more of a dead end, and in searching for the next goal they would split into many different subtypes. So then perhaps it's not a stretch to suggest that these 200 plus implements had some entertainment value. This is just a hypothesis, of course, but maybe the human dissection process was viewed as a type of entertainment. The three families of old would develop one new implement dissection tool after another, and each was varied, novel, and attracted spectators to keep them from growing bored. It's not unimaginable. All of them have to be enshrined within that storehouse. There isn't much longer until the night of the Watanagashi. Though its original intent has been lost, I will reveal the secrets of the traditional ceremonial night within the ritual storehouse. I can't restrain my excitement. Watanagashi cannot come soon enough. Oh. After the festival. Late that night, tensions in the police station were strained. In the silence, many of the staff members' eyes shifted back and forth between the clock and their telephones, counting the seconds in that stifled atmosphere. Kumagai-kun burst in with a young guy trailing behind him. Oishi-san, I've got the autopsy reports. The court physician just got here. I'm ready to go, sir. I'll head straight for the burned body's location. The burned body? Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Kuma-chan, things have gotten a bit complicated. They appear to be having a very difficult time determining who the victim is. Could they have been dismembered? Nope. Cooked to a nice light brown. He spoke in sportive tones, but the meaning behind his words was heavy. The staff gave a collective sigh. All the way, head to toe. Completely blackened, it seems. Probably smells terrible, too. What a shame it is to be Gifu-san. Cooked, with no possessions, then discarded outside the prefecture. At worst, it would have taken a week for the body to be identified. The fact that they'd sniffed it out tonight was huge. Komiyama-kun and a few others are performing a thorough night raid on the dentist in Okinomiya. All we can do is hope a tooth matches some medical records. Sorry, could someone go buy me 2 or so boxes of strong cigarettes? The young guy answered in affirmation and darted out into the hallway. We did an excellent job finding it this year. It could be that the people who disappeared in past years were scattered outside the prefecture like this too. Then why not bury him? Or sink him into the Sea of Japan or Lake Biwa or somewhere like that? Why though? Hasn't the pattern so far been one person dies and another disappears? Uma-chan, the corpse was inside an oil drum, unrestrained and cooked. They probably burned him after strangling them. They knew it would be found. So what you mean is, from the beginning, they didn't want a person to disappear this year? Well, not so much as they just aren't related. The person isn't not so much that as they just aren't related. The person didn't disappear, in fact. Whoever did it seems to have wanted to make a show of it. You mean it could be a warning? He folded his arms and then heaved a long and heavy sigh. That might have been the case had it happened in town. If they had messed up, taking the victim far away and burning him alive wouldn't have been noticed. If they meant it as a warning, they should have done it closer to Hinamizawa. They wanted to emphasize the fact that they killed the victim. But instead of doing it somewhere for dramatic effect, they did it outside the prefecture. Did they want to emphasize it or to hide it? Boy, do I wonder what Oyashiro-sama is up to this year. A telephone ring cut through the heavy silence. A staff member nearby snatched up the receiver. Oishi-san, it's Komiyama. They have it. The dental clinic in Okinomiya fixed the wisdom tooth 3 years ago. What about the records? Complete with x-rays. Well, I feel bad for waking up the dentist before dawn. Kuma-chan, get out there as soon as you get the records from Komiyama-kun. Will do. Oh, it's the chief. Thank you for coming out at this hour. Oishi-san, my apologies for my lateness. What's the situation? Well, it's just getting good, you see. We're getting all fired up. Don't say fired up. Wow! We're not gonna know who it was. We're not gonna know. We're not gonna fucking know. I have to play more later. Oh my god, no, 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 no. Oh god. I have to take a break, but there is no way I'm not playing the next chapter later tonight. I don't care how much I've played of this game today. I have to know who it was. I can't let it settle there. Ugh.